And those members on the House, on that side of the House, I fully support any effort to recall these members, because there is not a chance that the people who voted for them had any idea about the agenda they'd be advancing in this House.
Today we're asking, what is happening with David Eby? We're going to take a look at his unhinged rant in the Parliament building. Then we're going to look at him on mainstream media slamming the door to any possibility of a coastal pipeline. And yes, we're going to take a look at some of your comments online, because I want to include everybody in my shows. You'll never know if I'm going to choose one of your comments to air on one of my videos. Let's get into this report. We're going to start today's show off on a new feature on X where you can determine where the Twitter X account comes from. The Liberal Party's Canada's X account is being run from the United States. You can't make any of this stuff up. Where the Conservatives are being run out of Canada. They're picking an American to post on their behalf. And get this, so is the NDP. They're actually paying for a firm in the United States, both Liberal and NDP, to do all their social media posts. I thought it was elbows up. I thought we support Canadian. The only party that supports Canadian are the Conservatives. Who is surprised? And Little Pork says the exact location is the Brookfield headquarters. Carney moved there. I wouldn't be surprised if Brookfield was the one posting. Or Karen says, those of us awake know the Conservatives are the only ones that have always put Canada first. Surprise, surprise, our very own CBC also's account is from the United States. They could be using a VPN, but truly this is hilarious. And last comment, Canada gets funnier every single day. All I have to say is not funnier. The clown show just becomes more clown, more makeup, more ridiculous. The NDP had a leadership review. You would think that after BC is literally losing your fee simple property rights across this province, 95% of the province is up for grabs. Richmond has already lost a bunch of properties. You would think that the leader responsible for all of this chaos in the province would be tossed. The fact that this party actually even exists is astonishing. It just shows how many simple people there are in British Columbia.
Greeting party members to the tune of his daughter's favorite K-pop Demon Hunter song, Premier David Eby in a celebratory mood.
And look at this incredible team.
Eby was endorsed by 82% of the 800 New Democrats who voted not to trigger an NDP leadership race. It's the first time New Democrats have gathered since narrowly winning the 2024 election. But not all is golden among the party base.
Young people have been lost by the NDP.
This 19-year-old who's running for party president.
It's not just young people. Every single Canadian that lives in the province could lose their property rights because of David Eby. He's lost everybody. I cannot believe that 85% of the party still support him. We've had 4 credit downgrades in 4 years, and we're running a $12 billion deficit. This is a province. This is not federally. He's turning BC into a burning garbage pit. 85% support. That blows my mind. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes. David Eby has a full meltdown when Tamara Armstrong brings up what land in British Columbia is not up for grabs with Aboriginal title. You're not going to believe what you see next.
This morning, I'll be reading from the Holy Scriptures of the United Nations Declarations on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. If you have it with you, please. This morning, I'll be reading from the Holy Scriptures of the United Nations Declarations on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. If you have it with you, please turn to Article 26. Quote, Indigenous peoples have the rights to the lands, territories, and resources which they have traditionally owned, occupied, or otherwise used or acquired. Mr. Speaker, if I'm not mistaken, that's all the land. That's the land under 150 private homes in Richmond. That's the land under the homes of 100,000 Kamloops residents. That's the land under your very own feet. Mr. Speaker, can the Premier point to any place in British Columbia that was not traditionally owned, occupied, used, or otherwise acquired by BC's Indigenous people?
Mr. Premier.
Thanks, Honourable Speaker. I would thank the member for the question, but it's been quite a day already with those members from 1 BC. Look, they have a clear position. It's obvious. It is a very unfortunate position given the history in this place where Indigenous people were specifically excluded from participating, from voting, displaced from lands, where they were subject to a biological attack with smallpox, where they were forced into residential schools, many were sexually abused, children died. To have to endure, for those members, for members in this House who are Indigenous, for people, high school kids, to be listening to the members promulgating fictions that suit their agenda in the face of the well-documented history of this province. And then to rise and to continue this attack on the work that we have to do at the same time as Indigenous people across this province are working with this government to deliver prosperity in every corner of British Columbia, to ignore those facts, that thousands of jobs that are going to be realized through these partnerships. I mean, it is a reprehensible, disgusting, appalling. I run out of words to describe what they're trying to do. They're trying to drag us to a terrible history, drag us back, and our government is focused on pushing forward, finding a path forward. It's not easy work, but it is the only path forward for this country and for this province. We're going to do it in partnership with Indigenous people.
Member has a supplemental.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Premier and the Leader of the official opposition voted UNDRIP into law in this province in 2019. This act of betrayal didn't just surrender the province to the 204 Indigenous tribes in BC, but now American tribes want to take in on the action too. Yesterday, news broke that a tribe from Alaska is in court demanding land rights over a gold mine in Northwest BC. Can you blame them, Mr. Speaker? BC is up for sale, and the asking price is $0. My question for the Premier is whether there is any Indigenous tribe that he won't give our province away to.
Mr. Premier.
Honourable Speaker, first of all, and the member knows this, we have aggressively resisted the attempts by American tribes to establish claims here in British Columbia. We will continue to do so. And the member is completely wrong when she thinks about reconciliation as a cost, because in our province, reconciliation represents, we believe, on the order of probably $100 to $150 billion in economic activity, tens of thousands of jobs, and certainty and predictability for people and businesses across the province. And these numbers are backed by companies advancing major projects in this country. The member wants to rip that up for her ideology, which is clearly anti-Indigenous, unambiguously racist. And it is incredibly problematic that we have these voices in our legislature tearing at the fabric of the agreements that we need to be prosperous and successful in this province. Those tens of thousands of jobs are not up for grabs as long as we're on this side of the House. We're going to fight for those jobs. We're going to deliver prosperity for British Columbians. We're going to do it in partnership with First Nations and those members on the House, on that side of the House. I fully support any effort to recall these members, because there is not a chance that the people who voted for them had any idea about the agenda they'd be advancing in this House.
I think it's important after that we look at some of the comments to see what people like you out there are talking about this situation. Boogeyman says 1BC might have taken it a step too far. Have they taken it a step too far? But they're forcing politicians to address how the Indigenous have far too much power for 5% of the population. Here's the thing. What are we supposed to do? I was born and raised. I was born in BC land. I was born here. What am I supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? Are they going to put us on a boat and just a raft, a piece of wood, and just ship us off into the ocean? Because we don't belong anywhere. We don't belong in BC. We don't belong on this planet based on David Eby's plan. And as David Johnson says, standing up for people's right who actually own real estate in the province is not. David Eby is a traitor to the people that elected him. There is so much chaos that's coming out of all of this in British Columbia. We should all be living in unity. With the First Nations, everybody in this province should be working together. We need to be prosperous together. We don't want to break everything off. And then, like I said, we all feel like what they're doing is want us all to go on a piece of wood and send us in the ocean to never exist again. This is not a solution. This is breaking us apart into pieces. That is what this is doing. So now that I showed you that clip in BC Parliament, David Eby also showed that clip and he posted this on his social media account. Reconciliation strengthens BC's economy and communities. We reject our and anti-Indigenous rhetoric, as well as continuing our partnership with First Nations to deliver jobs, certainty, prosperity to all British Columbians. Here's the thing, and this thing has 221,000 views, but check this out. He's blocked comments. You're not even allowed to talk about it. It's unbelievable. If you wanted to say something and say, you know what, David Eby, my family's lived in BC for 150 years. We've worked to build this province. We built the railroads. We built a lot of the infrastructure and prosperity in this province, and we don't want to think that our land that we own, fee simple, is now up for grabs and we're going to lose it all because of your ideology. You can't even leave a comment to David Eby. He's just telling it how it is, and you're going to have to accept it. If you want to know how it's going in BC, the BC NDP just 3 weeks ago voted down the Properties Rights Protection Act before even hearing what's in it. This comes in the heels of last night's meeting in Richmond, where residents packed in a hall to demand answers about what Aboriginal title means for their property. You're not getting a mortgage. $100 million worth of mortgages for the commercial buildings vanished overnight, and all the properties can't renew their mortgages on the land, and you can't even sell the land. You can't even sell it to anybody. So if they've lost basically everything, and they're still paying property taxes on those properties, the BC NDP think they know best. While confidence in ownership has collapsed, people are waking up and the NDP are doubling down. And what's interesting here is even the Conservatives, so BC One and the Conservatives, they voted yes. The NDP, they voted no to protecting your property rights. Like I said, that's why I have no idea how David Eby in the 80s and voted back to be the leader of the NDP party in British Columbia with all that support. It makes zero sense. I have to say, I'm starting to really like this 1BC party. They are the one party that's actually standing up for the people. Yeah, we actually exist in this country. The NDP, they're so far woke and left. They don't care if you're put on that piece of wood and shipped into the ocean. You don't even exist to them. Check this out. Tamara Armstrong has published on her social media account, "We didn't steal Canada, we built it." This post has gone parabolic. 1.1 million views. That's right. People are actually paying attention to the One BC party, they're actually rising in the polls because people are waking up to the fact that if there's no change, if we don't have change in this province, you are going to lose your property in Vancouver, in Burnaby, in Richmond. The whole thing is going to get taken over. If you actually look at the land claims, the entire province is Aboriginal. Yeah, you better wake up, BC, because if David Eby continues down this road, you will lose everything because they don't have, BC is broke. They can't afford to pay you out for your property. That's right. Your property will go to zero. You'll lose everything. And where are you supposed to go? I have to say something as well. We could coexist with the Aboriginals. We have coexisted for 150 plus years. And in fact, we are sending so many billions of dollars to the First Nations, and the people on the reserves are living in third world conditions. Some of them don't even have clean drinking water. So the money's not even getting funneled to them. What we need to do is actually help them, bring them out of poverty, and we all prosper together. And we respect the lands and work as a team. But what the NDP are doing is fracturing us into pieces, ruling over the land, and pretty soon ruling over the ashes. How do we know David Eby doesn't care? He really doesn't care about your property rights. According to court records, the Premier of BC has not filed a stay proceedings in the Cowichan land claim, despite telling the public he had done it in August. Richmond landowners are all on their own. Can you actually believe it? Not only in August, he also said it in October 29th of this year. The Premier says BC will ask the court to stay implementation of the Cowichan tribe case. He has yet to do it. Wake up. He's not even done it. That's right. And how do we find out? It's because of John Rustad came out and he says right here, yet the court records show the exact opposite. They have done absolutely nothing for the people of Richmond. And when your property gets taken over, they will do nothing for you. And just for proof, I got proof. I'm the guy with the data and receipts. August 11th. Minister's statement on Cowichan tribe court decision. Nika Sharma, Attorney General, we disagree strongly with the decision. British Columbia will be fighting an appeal and seek a stay to pause implementation until the appeal is resolved. Today, there's still no appeal. How many months is that? We're going on 3 months. It should have been done immediately. We're on 3 months. Just wait for 4 months. December, they're not going to take a look at it. It's holiday time. So they're going to do it when? In January? Based on how quickly they're moving with this, do you actually believe they're going to do it? All right, this is going to be good. We're going to hear from David Eby, only 30 seconds. Then I have Jason Kenney that's going to obliterate David Eby in a short clip. Oh boy. And the thing is, I'm not a huge fan of Jason Kenney, but today in this report, oh yeah, he hit it straight out of the ballpark.
Decision. The threat to those projects is the coastal First Nations saying, if you lift the tanker ban, we will no longer support these projects. We don't even like them in the first place, and the only reason we're tolerating them is because of the tanker ban. And I don't know that anyone appears to get this from Alberta or Saskatchewan, or disappointingly, the PMO, if in fact these conversations are happening in the total absence of the coastal First Nations. They haven't been included either.
All right, Jason Kenney.
Big hurdle will be, of course, British Columbia. First Nations on the coast have issues with the idea of another pipeline. The Premier is very upset that he has not been included in these conversations, doesn't like the idea.
Oh, yeah, by the way, I sped it up.
Yeah, that a tanker ban may be lifted or exempt for some sort of future project. What do you make of the hurdle that is British Columbia? Those are real concerns they have.
Well, in due course, if there is a specific project that applies for a permit from the National Energy Regulator, the British Columbia government would have every right to make its representations at the time to express its concerns. But David Eby, frankly, I'm surprised he's a lawyer. He was the Attorney General who got absolutely humiliated when he tried to stop the Trans Mountain expansion. He had a judicial he passed a law to say BC could regulate an interprovincial pipeline. The BC Appeal Court unanimously said, no, you can't. No. This is a federal, exclusive federal jurisdiction upheld unanimously by the Supreme Court of Canada. So I would say to Mr. Eby, do you believe in the Constitution and the rule of law or not? And are you on Team Canada or not? Because all of this this whinging that he's doing is has already it's out of bounds. It's unconstitutional. BC cannot stop interprovincial infrastructure like this.
They can't stop it, but they can certainly raise their concerns.
I love that. He's a terrible lawyer, and he's a terrible premier as well. And he already knows he can't stop the pipeline. That's why TMX went through. He couldn't stop it. He went to court. He should have known. If Mark Carney decides there's going to be a pipeline to the coast, David Eby can't do anything. And that's why Danielle Smith is not fighting with David Eby. She's focused on Ottawa because David Eby doesn't matter
around it, and that is what he's doing, and he hasn't been consulted. So,
well, listen, why doesn't he consult British Columbians? Every poll I've seen in the last year indicates a significant majority of British Columbians support this. And by the way, on First Nations,
it's like 65% to 70% of BC residents support this because they know it's a nation-building project. We're broke. We are so broke in this country. Try to go to find a family doctor. Try to go to the hospital and not wait 15 hours for service. You're not going to make it if you're in trouble. We need change in this country, and we know that the change will come with pipelines. So yes, we're all supportive of this pipeline.
I don't buy the notion that there's a widespread opposition. When that was actually tested on the Trans Mountain expansion, the Supreme Court upheld a trial court finding that 111 of 119 Indigenous communities that had some putative interest were either supportive or neutral, and ultimately got built, as you saw, with very limited actual resistance. Same with Coastal GasLink. We heard a lot of noise about a couple of allegedly hereditary chiefs of the Wet'suwet'en. It got built with the support of every elected council there. And so what we have found is as long as there's equity participation available to Indigenous communities, I have seen overwhelming support amongst Western Canadian First Nations for projects like this.
Okay, what about the idea of just increasing the Trans Mountain pipeline? That is something that the Premier Eby does support, and there is additional capacity.
By the way, we should already be doing that. We should be doing that immediately. Increase the capacity and also building the Northern Gateway pipeline. That's 1 million barrels over there and only 300,000 new barrels coming down to the BC lower mainland.
Sure, I would take a both-and approach, but I do hope that they can focus on that as a constructive point of agreement without allowing the dispute over a potential Northwest pipeline to disrupt it. You could the Trans Mountain Company, which is a Crown Corporation, federal corporation, could expand by upwards of 300,000 barrels a day shipments down to the Port of Vancouver, dredge the harbor, which means more capacity loaded into the tankers that come out of there safely. That would be really helpful. And Enbridge has some proposals to optimize their pipeline network that could also increase shipments. Mm-hmm. And I'm an advocate of finishing the Keystone XL project. It's no longer KXL technically, but.
And by the way, if we don't build this pipeline, you know what's going to happen? Did you not see in Kamloops we saw the train that derailed and all that oil went into the lake? Yeah, they're going to ship it by rail. Way worse than a pipeline. Rail is going to be catastrophic for the environment. They're going to find a way.
That gets Trump to buy into additional Canadian exports. It would be a lot simpler and a lot cheaper to get that done, probably a lot more quickly as well.
In order for this agreement to go forward, there are things that Alberta will have to do around carbon capture and storage, around emissions. Is this kind of the Prime Minister's attempt to put the ball in Alberta's court and say, if you really want to do this, let's get you to commit to some movement on that front?
Well, I think that probably reflects his view, the federal government's view. And I think Alberta would say, welcome to the party. We were the first subnational jurisdiction, or the first jurisdiction in North America with an industrial price on carbon emissions. And Ralph Klein did that in 2005. And we used those resources in part to pay for the first large-scale CCUS, carbon sequestration projects in Canada, including the carbon trunk line that's taking sequestered CO2 off of refineries in the Edmonton refinery complex and injecting that into central Alberta, into the sedimentary basin there. So you've got this stuff that's already happening thanks to Alberta and industry leadership. Pathways has been leaning forward on this. So in principle, I think an agreement is possible there as long as the cost is reasonable. Because if only the Canadian industry is having to pay for tens of billions of dollars of carbon sequestration infrastructure, and their competitors from Saudi Arabia to Russia to Texas are not, then we're at a huge global disadvantage.
Is a pipeline? Do you think it's likely, given what we were just talking about in terms of capacity and increased capacity and other options? Another pipeline, is it likely?
It's possible. I would say a new Northwest Coast pipeline is going to be hard to do. But if we get the right policy environment, lifting the emissions cap and the tanker ban and so forth, I think a proponent will come forward because the value is just enormous. Once you're shipping that amount of energy, you're talking over its lifetime about hundreds of billions of dollars of revenue being generated. That spins off tolls that easily pays for the infrastructure.
Hundreds of billions of dollars, $20 billion per year to be exact, would be going towards government programs and taxes revenue for our government. We're so broke, we're running an $80 billion deficit this year, next year, year after that. If we don't start building these national projects, we're going to be so broke. Third world country will be a luxury item. We are going to be finished in this country. We need to wake up and get these projects done. And Jason Kenney, good job. You just dismantled David Eby in your segment. That's it for today's report. I can't wait to read the comment sections. Holy moly, David Eby has unhinged himself. And the reason that he's so unhinged with the One BC party is because he's terrified of them. They're actually coming up with some real common sense and fighting back. We haven't seen anyone fight back. This is what we need. We need fighters so that we win. We have lost so much in Canada. It's a loss after loss after loss. Every day we wake up, we are losing. We need to start seeing some winning. I apologize I didn't get a report out yesterday. I wanted to get this report out, but I'm working on some special things for all of you, and I can't wait to announce those things. There's going to be something next week that I'm going to be doing another interview, and I'm excited about that. And if you like this report, make sure you like and share this report with every single person you know. You could actually make a difference. We need to wake this country up. I'll see you on the next report.